So today we're going to talk about a thought record. I'm going to teach you what a thought record is and how you can fill that thought record out and why it is important and what we're going to do with that information after we have taken this thought record. So as the word says, it's a recording of your thoughts. And these are the thoughts that produce a response that is unhelpful or negative or make us feel down. So whenever you feel yourself in a situation or you're suddenly getting more depressed, you're getting sad, or your mood is changed and it's a negative, that's the thought that we want to capture. Because most of the time we can capture and identify the emotions, but we don't know and we can't recognize the thought that got us to that emotion. So this is what the thought record is all about. And so I'm going to teach you about that. We're going to talk about why it is important to track that. This is going to help us to build a picture of our thought patterns. And you know what CBT is all about. Is just because you think something, it doesn't mean that it is necessarily true. Okay, so part of this thought record keeping is going to be 2 pages. The first page that I'm going to talk to you about has got a list of what we call cognitive distortions. There's about 12 cognitive distortions on this page. I'm going to read them for you, and I'm going to read for you also examples of how these cognitive, that explain these cognitive distortions. You're going to understand why in a little bit. But these are the cognitive distortions. Number 1, all or nothing. An example would be, if I'm not a total success, I'm a failure. Number 2 would be catastrophizing or fortune telling. An example will be, I'll be so upset I won't be able to function at all. Number 3, disqualifying or discounting the positive. This example would be, I did that project well, but that doesn't mean I'm competent. I just got lucky. Okay. Number 4, emotional reasoning. An example, I know I do a lot of things okay at work, but I still feel like I'm a failure. Number 5 is labeling. An example would be like, I'm a loser, or he's a loser, or he's good, or he's no good. Number 6 would be magnification or minimization. Okay, an example would be, getting a mediocre evaluation proves how inadequate I am. Getting high marks doesn't mean I'm smart. It's almost the same as disqualifying, okay? But you're minimizing and you're magnifying things in the wrong proportion. Mental filter or selective abstraction. An example would be, because I got 1 low rating on my evaluation, which also contains several high ratings, it means I'm doing a lousy job. Mind reading, number 8. An example would be, he's thinking that I don't know the first thing about this project. You ever done that? Okay. Overgeneralization. An example would be, because I felt uncomfortable at the get-together, means I don't have what it takes to make friends. Number 10, personalization. An example would be, the repairman was curt to me because I did something wrong. Number 11, should and must statements. An example, it's terrible that I made a mistake. I should always do my best. And number 12, tunnel vision. An example would be, my son's teacher can't do anything right. He's critical and insensitive and lousy at teaching. So these are some of the cognitive distortions. And I wanted to read that list for you again. This time, I'm not going to give you the examples, but just get you a little bit familiar with the cognitive distortions. Number 1, all or nothing thinking. Number 2, catastrophizing or fortune telling. Number 3, disqualifying or discounting the positive. Number 4, emotional reasoning. Number 5, labeling. Number 6, magnification or minimization. Number 7, mental filter or selective abstraction. 8, mind reading. 9, overgeneralization. 10, personalization. 11, should and must have statements. And number 12, tunnel vision. So this is going to be the second portion of your worksheet. You don't have to fill anything on that, but you are going to look at these distortions and find out which distortion was applicable to you. Okay, so the first part of the worksheet is going to have a list of 6 columns. Okay, the first column is going to be the date and the time. The second column is going to have the situation, whatever the situation is that we're discussing. The second one is going to be the automatic thought that came to you that caused the situation. Number 4 is going to be the emotions that you felt. And then we're going to have the adaptive response. How did you respond to that? And number 6, what was the outcome? Okay. And at the bottom of that, of all of this is going to be a few questions that's going to help you to challenge those thoughts and to examine the evidence and to decide how are we going to alter these thoughts. So this is what's going to happen. I'm going to give you an example of how you fill out the worksheet. You probably can put the date and time after the event or whenever you get a chance. That's not all that important. We do want you to track it though. All right, so the first one is a situation. And this situation is what event or unpleasant emotion or unhelpful behavior did you engage in? What was that event? And number 2 would be what thought or emotion or images went through your mind at the time of the unhelpful event, okay? What emotions, and these are going to be emotional words, sad, angry, upset, whatever it is, what emotions did you feel and how intense were they? So you're going to answer 2 parts. What was the emotion and how intense it was? 0, didn't bother you at all. 100, that was max, okay? And then we're going to have the adaptive response. So that's going to be like, what were your cognitive distortions? And then you're going to use those questions to counteract that, to challenge those thoughts, to examine the evidence, and then you're going to have an outcome. All right. I'm going to give you an example of how this is going to work. So let's pick a situation. Let's say I got an email from my boss, and in the email, my boss just said, "I need to see you first thing on Monday morning." That's it. I got this email. That is the situation. So under the situation column, I'm going to write email from boss. I want to see you first thing Monday morning. And what were the automatic thoughts that I had immediately on looking at this? When I looked at this email, I was taken aback. I was shocked. I got panicky. What does that mean? Why does he want to see me first thing on Monday? I got anxiety. Did I do something wrong? Am I about to get fired? Am I going to lose my job? And how much did I believe this? At this time, I am panicking. I am worried. So I've got anxiety 50%. I've got panic 50%. And now I am in a stressful situation. And what are my emotions? Now I'm going to see this. Anxiety, stress, panic. These are the emotions. So I'm going to write these down under there, and I'm also going to write what percentage of emotional I was each emotion. So between anxiety and panic. Okay, first it's going to be panic because that's going to send me into anxiety. So anxiety is going to rank higher eventually because I can't stay in that panic mode forever. Okay, and then what was my response? I go now and look at the cognitive distortions. What did I do during that? I spent the whole weekend job hunting, worrying about my finances, trying to decide how I'm going to fix my life. So now I go back and I start to look at, to challenge these thoughts. How much evidence do I have for this automatic thought? The automatic thought that I'm going to get fired. Let's take that one. How much evidence do I have for that thought? Nothing. I have 0 evidence that this email is an email of firing me. Okay. Is there an alternative explanation? Most likely. When I sit down and think about it, if somebody is going to fire me, they're not going to call me to fire me. They walk in the office and fire me right away. Or else they will fire me on the Friday, whenever you send me the email. don't come back to work. We're done with you. That's it. So I now challenge that initial thought, okay? And then I think again, let's challenge some more. These are the questions that I'm reading from the bottom of your worksheet. If the worst were to happen, how would you cope? I would probably be able to find another job. What's the best that could happen? Probably he wants to discuss something that he didn't have time to put in that email. You see how this is starting to change the whole tenor of what I'm going to do. What is the most realistic outcome? Most likely, he wants to discuss something with me. That's why he wants to see me personally in the office, okay? So now we go back and say, what is the effect of my believing my automatic thought? So when I believed that my job was threatened and I catastrophized it and I decided that I'm going to lose my job, I spent the whole weekend job hunting, anxious, not being happy with anybody, worried about my finances. I should have saved a little bit more. So it can escalate into a whole different experience. Okay. What could the effect of my changing my thinking be? If I change the way that I think, how could I have had a better weekend? Most likely, if I had looked at it and said, this is a good thing. He wants to discuss something with me and I've got some ideas. Maybe he wants to discuss one of the ideas that I suggested. I don't know. So I could have had a way better weekend and I could have forgot about work and had a good work-life balance. Okay. Okay, so that is pretty much what a thought record is. So what your homework is to do is to take this worksheet and start working on it. Whenever you get an emotion that is intense, or you have a feeling, or you have a situation, I want you to stop as soon as that happens and start filling out this worksheet. Write down what the situation was. Write down what the automatic thought came to you, what led to this, and then write down all the emotions that you felt, and then write down the adaptive response. What was your distorted cognitive distortion that you had based on the emotions that you were feeling. And now you're going to write down how much, after you have challenged it and after you have given yourself that evidence and the alternative thoughts, how much do you now believe in your automatic thought? So what you're doing is you are breaking up a crisis into little chunk-sized pieces, and you're putting them in order, and you're looking at where it began, and you're going to come up with a different alternative thought to what that could be so that you can change that outcome. Okay, so you might not be able to complete everything, but the most important thing is to start recognizing the thoughts, because that's what is going to build a pattern for you to get in trouble later on. And that's what we want to work on, our thoughts. So when we meet the next time, give me a list of all the different situations, all the different scenarios, as soon as you get to remember them, or as soon as you get a time to write them down, and then we can go through each and every one of them. And then together we can discuss what are the alternatives and how we're going to look at things differently and what are the best options for us to do. Okay, so that's what a thought record is. And if you have any questions, let me know, but do the best that you can. All right, thank you. You have a nice week.